Everybody. So the purpose of this video is to help you create your graphs for your cellular respiration lab. So you're only creating one graph, and your one graph is going to have 4 lines on it. And I have highlighted in yellow the data that you need to graph. So you will be graphing for room temperature, the germinating peas corrected difference, and the dry peas and beads corrected difference. For the cold water bath, you're going to be graphing the germinating peas corrected difference, dry peas and beads corrected difference. So you will only be graphing the data that is highlighted. So I am going to go ahead and show you how to create your graph. You're going to create your graph under Analysis Question 1. So you're going to click Insert, Chart, Line. When you do so, it'll automatically put this generic graph into your document. When you click on that graph and you go to the top right corner of that graph, you can click on this little downwards caret and click Open Source. This will open the Google Excel sheet that is linked to your document. You can edit your graph here and it'll automatically change on your Google Doc. So let me show you how we are going to manipulate this to get it to look like what we want it to. First of all, you can see that this graph has teams on the x-axis. We want to get rid of that and put time. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to 0, 5, 10, 15, and 20 because those are the time points that we used in this lab. For period 1, I am going to go ahead and change that to germinating peas at in parentheses RT standing for room temperature. So this is where you will put the corrected difference for the germinating peas at room temperature. So I'm just going to make up these numbers. Again, yours will be correct. And then I am going to do dried peas and beads at room temperature. And then again, I will put my corrected differences for my dried peas and beads at room temperature. Then I'm going to put my graph for germinating peas at 10 degrees Celsius, which was the ice bath. And I'll put my data there, again, just making up these numbers. And then my last one will be my corrected difference for dried peas and beads at 10 degrees Celsius, so the ice bath. And I will put my data there. And there it is. Now that I have inputted all of my data into that table, I need to make my graph look like that table. So to do so, you are going to double click on your graph, and what that will do is open up this chart editor. First of all, you do not want a line graph, you want a scatter plot. So if you click on the setup option and you click on the chart type, you can switch that to scatter plot, so little dots. Now I have a scatter plot. And notice how by clicking on scatter plot, that now made it so that I have every single one of my experimental conditions. If for whatever reason this doesn't change it so that you have all of your experimental conditions, you can add your other column, so this data, by going to the series part, and here I have all 4 of my series. You can click on add series and notice how everything should be listed here. You can add any of the ones that you are missing, but you should have 4 different sets of data. The next thing that I'm going to do is update my X, Y, and title. So I'm going to click on the Customize section, and I'm going to click on Chart and Axis Titles. So your chart titles or your graph titles should always be whatever's on the y-axis versus what's on the x-axis. So on my y-axis, I have the amount of oxygen absorbed, and you always want to include units. So in absorbed in milliliters versus what is on my x-axis, which is time in minutes. Now I want to add a title to my horizontal axis, my x-axis, so time. And again, you always want to include units. And then my vertical axis, this is going to be amount of oxygen absorbed in milliliters. The last thing you're going to want to do is trend lines. So to go to trend lines, you're going to click on series and you're going to scroll down and you could click on the trend line box and now you have trend lines. You can also click show R2 to find the slope of the line if you like. And now your graph is done and it has everything that you need. You can now go back to your lab document and notice how your graph did not update. But notice how on the top right corner you now have this update with the refresh. So if you click on that, this is now updated and your graph is there and it looks all beautiful. So that is how you will create your graph within your document.